that intro music gets better every time we listen to it. Huh?
Yeah, sure does, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Mike Worm, for the awesome intro music. I don't know if I've had a chance to plug him yet, but kudos, sir. This is the KneeBar Reactions. What are we calling this? The
knee-jerk reactions.
Knee-jerk reactions to UFC 149. I mean, it's been 10 minutes since the fight's ended.
The fight's just ended.
You know, we wanted to get it in while it's still fresh in our minds because, wow, I don't even know what to say about this one.
Probably the most forgetful card I could remember.
Wow, that's pretty harsh, but I can't disagree with you. It was something. It was something.
Barring the first fight on the main card, I don't know.
Yeah, you know, I'll actually say that this is one of the few times or in recent memory, that the undercard was way better than the actual main card.
See the undercard.
I mean, all the fighters obviously, give it their all and all that good stuff, but it was just not a lot of entertaining stuff going on.
Highlighted by a 7-second knockout of the Hippo by the Jimmo.
Your boy Ryan Jimmo.
Ryan Jimmo knocking out Anthony Parash in 7 seconds.
Well, that's the first spoiler of the evening, by the way. So, in case you didn't know that, everything from here on out was gonna be a spoiler.
Yeah, this is
a spoiler.
Spoiler
alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! I mean, starting with the first fight, Matt Riddle and his name Chris Clements. Actually turned out to be the best fight of the evening. It started off with a bang. I assumed, man, the whole card is going to be fantastic if all the fights are this good. Matt Riddle putting on a great performance.
I thought it was good. Both guys exchanging. Both guys, standing toe to toe. Riddle said before the fight he wanted it to be an exciting fight and he wanted to be a fan pleaser. So he had a takedown early. He let him up, stood back to the middle. You saw multiple times where the guys got away from the fence, stood toe to toe in the middle, and threw. The big thing that I say the biggest thing in the fight besides the finish by Riddle, which was a beautiful arm triangle choke in the third round, was he landed a beautiful kick right to the liver.
Yeah, Josh Rosenthal.
Was that the first round?
Yeah, right in the first round.
And Josh Rosenthal. Josh, I don't know, man, what you've been on lately, but this is your second week in a row blowing some major call.
And it was very obviously. I don't know what it was. Very obviously a liver kick. Josh Rosenthal was standing at a good point of view to actually see the kick,
and he stopped it because he thought it was a nut
obviously
shot.
Not a low blow, but
he was hurt, and Riddle could have finished it there.
Hey, but I'll say, Matt Riddle, man, that was a great finish. Standing awesome. Arm triangle, and then took him down with the arm triangle choke, landed in the arm triangle choke, and put it and finished.
He did a duck under of a wild hook, locked it up on the feet.
It was a spinning back fist. Yeah. He was trying to throw a spinning back fist, and he ducked under it.
Yeah. Back chicken and right to the ground and kept it tight, and it was a beautiful finish.
Yeah, I mean, that was I think it was already announced as the submission of the night, so kudos to Matt Riddle. It sounds like he's been training out with Robert Drysdale out in Las Vegas.
Right.
Robert Drysdale's
give Drysdale a shout out in the
huge jiu-jitsu player. Yeah. He's saying he's adding some submissions to his wrestling game, so hopefully we'll see a lot more of the same from Matt Riddle.
Matt Riddle now 7-3 in his MMA career, all fights in the UFC, so not shabby.
Him. Good for him. Hopefully we'll see even better Matt Riddle the next time around.
Right.
Next fight on the card, Brian Ebersol and James Head. What a bizarre fight.
Oh,
that
man,
I
was so pumped in our preview show. I want to see Brian Ebersol fight. And Brian Ebersol came out, and he was shooting the laziest single leg takedowns. And they got stuffed.
They didn't even seem like he was actually shooting for a takedown. It just seemed like he was dropping to his knees and then reaching out with both hands.
He had 20 shots stuffed.
Yeah, it was. I mean, in James Head, man. I knew he was. He was predominantly a stand-up fighter, but I didn't think his takedown defense was that good.
I don't think it was that good. I just think Ebersol's. I think honestly, if you ask my opinion, I think Ebersol was tired. Was still not fully recovered from the 3 rounds he had against Waldberger.
Well, then he shouldn't have taken the fight, man. And that's right. The guy was putting together quite the run at 170, and he had some big wins. He's making waves. A lot of people were. I mean, he did look significantly smaller than he has in the past. I don't know if he was gearing up for the weight cut to 155, which he's been talking about. But it was just very, very bizarre the way he was fighting. And not that Brian Ebersol fights like a very technical fight to begin with, but those weird, he was reaching out and punching him in the leg over and over again.
Yeah.
Which,
and
I don't know how
Ebersol does some weird stuff.
Yeah.
He tried the cartwheel kick and all that stuff.
Wish he had landed that.
Yeah, that would have been great because he has before, and he's knocked people out with it, I believe. But so that the fight ended in a split decision for Head.
Yeah,
right? And
split decision.
Honestly, neither of them really impressed me in this fight. But I might have given that decision 29-28 to Ebersol. That's how I had it on my card.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, I scored the first 2 rounds for James Head. So, I mean, actually, no, I'm sorry. I scored the first and third round for James Head. I thought Brian Ebersol actually could have pulled out a win in the second, or could have pulled out the second round. But again, just very weird fight. And I mean, it wasn't, and Matt Riddle set the tone, or Matt Riddle and Chris Clemens set such a great tone for the beginning of the card. The undercard was fantastic. A lot of great finishes in the undercard. Nick Ring and Court McGee ended the undercard with just like a bloody just beat down of each other. Great fight. And then,
which, by the way, I think they got the decision wrong. I gave McGee the fight.
Yeah. I mean, I'll have to go back and rewatch it. It's only been...
That was another split too, right?
Yeah, that was a split decision as well. Actually, no, it was a unanimous decision for Nick Ring.
Yeah? Was it 29-28?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and, you have to understand Nick Ring is Canadian. They were fighting in Canada, so there may have been a little bit of
fans
a little bit of bias there, but you never know.
By the way, before we forget, on the first fight, the Riddle fight, I'd say Matt Riddle had an excellent post-fight interview with Joe Rogan. It was absolutely phenomenal. Just jumping around, saying he loves everyone.
It was.
Just being a maniac. It was great.
It's got to feel good to win a fight in the UFC.
I might do the same thing, too.
Especially, I think that's like one of his first times fighting on the main card in a long time, so.
Right.
Good for him. And, Brian Ebersol, hopefully he makes the cut down to 155. Don't know really what's going to happen, but James Head.
Because he looks smaller. He looks smaller than he did.
And, I mean, James Head did look much bigger than him, but, I mean, by no means was James Head's performance anything really to write home about.
Ebersol's really not that cut out. It looks like he has some weight to lose. So.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, he cuts down to 155. Maybe he's going to be a little bit bigger. I think maybe he should give himself some time to rest between fights. I don't know if taking a fight on 3 weeks' notice after you just fought a full 3-round fight and like a pretty gruesome 3-round fight where they were really going back and forth and then flying back from Thailand. Who knows, but not the best performance of his career.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was the best performance either. The other thing about Ebersol is that maybe because he was upset after that fight with Wahlberger, he was talking about him dropped to lightweight. Maybe he intentionally lost the fight. Sort of an easy way to slip himself in a lightweight division. No?
I don't know. I think he would have gotten it anyway. I mean, I hope that wasn't the case, but anything is possible. Anyway, moving on. Czech Congo and Sean Jordan.
Right.
Again, no fireworks there either.
No, this wound up how I thought it was going to wind up. I had Congo by decision, and because Jordan's got a solid chin, good athlete, I just didn't think he had enough experience to stack up against Congo. Congo showed a lot of experience, not just in the striking game, but in the clinch game and with his takedown defense. There's been a lot of guys that have taken down Czech Congo and tried to take down Czech Congo. He's been in there with great wrestlers like Cain Velasquez. And Sean Jordan is obviously not the same type of wrestler as a Cain Velasquez type. And Congo just sprawled him off. Congo was 20 pounds lighter, but a lot taller, 4 inches taller, and just a lot leaner.
And he looked like he was a lot stronger.
Yeah, and he physically dominated him. A lot of in the clinch work on the cage, leaning against him. Ineffective decision, not the performance I think Congo was hoping for, excitement-wise, trying to move himself up. But I still think it was, an effective fight, and he won all 3 rounds.
Yeah, and he keeps saying, he's trying to prove that he's not a heavyweight gatekeeper. But I mean, if you're trying to prove that you're not a heavyweight gatekeeper, you should probably beat a guy like Sean Jordan more convincingly than he did.
Right.
Yeah, he went out, he put on a good performance, he beat Sean Jordan, but I mean, he wasn't dominant by any fashion. It wasn't like he took him down and put a beat down on him. It was just a regular Czech Congo pushing him up against the fence using his size and and again, he has very underrated grappling, and there were 2 or 3 times where he ducked under, took his back, could have done some damage, and he didn't.
I would have liked to see him.
Like
there was a couple times where he was like behind him, and Jordan was sort of on all 4s.
Yeah,
and I would have liked to see him some knees into the thighs. He really didn't throw those.
They both look really exhausted.
Yeah, they were tired. I don't know. Is Calgary at elevation?
No, I don't think so. But I mean, Sean Jordan trains with Jackson's in Albuquerque,
and maybe it was all the leaning on each other and the weight from the first couple rounds. Because I know just if you're leaning on somebody and really pushing, like wrestling can really wear on you. But Joe Rogan, he was talking about in the 3rd round how he wanted to see Congo separate and start throwing the punches. And as soon as the fight ended, Congo laid down. And he's like, maybe that's why he wasn't separating, because he was exhausted.
I mean, again, not a very exciting fight by any means. It was very disappointing overall. I mean, I expected at least some fireworks from that. I mean, I was really just kind of hoping that somebody was just going to wheel up and punch the other one in the chin, knock him out, do something exciting. But it turned out that wasn't the case. Czech Congo wins by unanimous decision, I think. Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty one-sided fight.
But
Sean Jordan did show that he had a lot of potential.
I think it was 2 judges had 30-27. One had 30-28. So one of them called one of the rounds a draw, which I like to see because none of those rounds.
Just talking about that, how you don't see a lot of 10-10 rounds.
You don't see a lot of 10-10 rounds, and you never see a 10-7 round. And I think 10-7 rounds and 10-10 rounds are important. You know, as long as the 10-8 rounds, like they need to show a little more spread in how they score those rounds and stuff like that, and more draw rounds should be put into place.
And hopefully we'll see that if the new rules get voted on next week and it comes back and they get passed. Co-main event, Hector Lombard and Tim Boetsch. Probably the most disappointing fight of the entire night.
Man, I for sure, like I think we said in our preview that if one fight was going to go to a finish, it was going to be this fight. And this fight was, oh man, it was dreadful.
Yeah, and I'm like, I have to wonder what was going through Hector Lombard's mind. You know, was it like it was too much for him to be fighting in the UFC finally?
He just didn't go. Like you've seen him in fights. You've seen him in fights just go like ape on people and just start swinging. He never really did that.
I mean, he literally just stood in the middle of the cage and just let Tim Boetsch walk circles around him.
Right.
Which, I mean, I really didn't understand the strategy there, if that was his strategy. But, I mean, he did take Tim Boetsch down a couple times, but never really mounted any offense with it, never really did anything special. So,
you know, and Boetsch got one takedown in there, and he danced around his feet. And Boetsch wound up getting the win by split decision. But, in my opinion, if any fight should ever be called a draw, I think it should have been that fight.
Absolutely.
Because I honestly had all 3 of those rounds 10-10 because I saw no one winning. Like, it's not that any of these guys lost it for themselves, but I saw no one winning those rounds. It was, I don't know how happy I would be about this fight if I was Boetsch. Like, you're talking about Hector Lombard and what was he doing, but what was Boetsch doing? Boetsch really wasn't doing much either.
I mean, and not for nothing, neither guy can make a claim at a title shot now. I think, if anything else, Chris Weidman has just distanced himself even more from the rest of the pack at middleweight. And, I mean, if he doesn't get the next title shot, I'll be very surprised.
I still think Bisping's up there.
I don't think so, because Bisping is coming off a loss, and he's still going to fight.
But he's coming off a loss to Chael Sonnen, and it was a split decision loss, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I think Chris Weidman still has the best chance at the next title shot, because, I mean, he's the only guy in the division that's on a 4-fight win streak. He's the only guy in the division that's fought 2 top 10 opponents and finished one of them. So, right. I mean, where do you wait? And in terms of just a stylistic matchup, he's absolutely the worst matchup for Anderson Silva out there right now. So, you know, there's a lot to build on. There's the college wrestler.
Though Bisping is a better stand-up fighter than most guys he fights, and
yeah, but he's not.
Bisping's only losses are to wrestlers, so maybe Bisping with the striking, he might be someone that Anderson might be.
I don't know if he's on the same level as Anderson.
I don't think he's on the same level, but I think he can make it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can make it interesting. Anybody can go out there and have a good fight, but I don't know. I think definitely Chris Weidman is the next for the middleweight title. Definitely not Hector Lombard. That's for sure. No. Maybe Hector Lombard will fight Mark Munoz now, like he said he wanted to.
Because they're both on losses now.
Yeah, I mean it's very possible.
Dana White said that it wouldn't happen a couple of days ago, but maybe he's gonna.
I mean, Dana White's got to be disappointed in that. Performance.
I think Dana White's got to be disappointed in the card as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, we have to understand. Obviously, the card was completely injury riddled. None of these fights turned out the way that they were supposed to. It was supposed to be completely different fights, but with the exception of Matt Riddle on the main card, the whole thing was just, I don't want to say stinker, but I'm thinking it.
Yeah. And fortunately, though, we have, unlike a couple years ago, like, we would have to sit with that taste in our mouth for like a month until the next UFC card. This next weekend's off, and then we have, is it UFC on Fox?
Yeah, UFC on Fox, and then UFC 150.
And then UFC 150 the following weekend. So we got 2 of the next 3 weekends, the second and third weekend from now. We got 2 really exciting cards those guys who are guaranteed gamers.
I don't know about the headliner in the next fight on the next card, but
right.
Shogun Vera. That one's a little bit iffy, but I mean, regardless,
the most perplexing headliner.
So that one ended up Tim Boetsch winning by split decision, which I didn't necessarily agree with the decision. I thought Hector Lombard did probably enough to win the fight, but I can't say that Tim Boetsch didn't win the fight. Which, when you come to fights like this, it goes to a split decision. you can't really say one way or the other. You know, I mean, the referees could have taken it anyway because there was really neither of them mounted any kind of offense that was really worth noting at any point anyway. So
thus, I believe it was a draw.
Yeah, I mean, I actually wouldn't have been surprised to see a draw.
Right.
I mean, maybe if the new rules get implemented, we might actually see that something like that gets scored as a draw real soon.
Right.
But I mean, so Hector Lombard, man, stopped in the water.
Yeah,
is what it is.
Stinker fest. And then for the final fight of the evening, the main event for the bantamweight interim title and the future opportunity to fight Cruz for the title, it was the Faber-Barao fight.
Mm-hmm.
Uriah Faber versus Renan Barao, and Barao won that fight.
Yeah,
five rounds, won it. Not as exciting or open up as I wanted to see. Nobody really got hurt at any real point. Faber said he got hit in the ribs, might have broken a rib or something like that, but not the fight I was hoping for.
And really, the story of the fight was, you know, Renan Barao's striking just seemed like it was on another level, and he really took a page out of Jose Aldo's game plan and really started to leg kick quite a bit. And you know, his every time they would go to his corner, that's what André Beteneras, which is his trainer, and the famed André Beteneras, you know, tell him to continue with the leg kicks. And you know, he was landing not only leg kicks but punches, you know, spinning back kicks. And interesting for two really high level grapplers, the fight didn't go to the ground one time.
No, not
it was
at all.
basically just a kickboxing match for 5 rounds.
There was not in third period. Faber started trying to go for a leg, and in the fourth and fifth, he tried a couple more times. But Barao was just like limp legging out and getting in the way, and there was no real threat of anything ever actually going to the ground. I don't think anyone hit their knees the whole time in the fight. Maybe
I think maybe once.
Maybe Barao, like after some crazy kick or something, and he got right back to his feet.
I mean, and in that fifth round, Barao, you know, he was like doing old school, like Gracie sticking his arm out, and really, but it was really effective.
Yeah, he should have been doing that the whole fight.
I know, it was really weird. He was
landed
just like
a couple good ones,
sticking his left arm completely straight out and
like stiff arming.
Yeah, and Uriah Faber wasn't reacting to it. He was just holding his arm, and it was, I don't know, very strange.
They were playing like Mercy in the middle.
Yeah. It was very, very strange.
By the way, that's one of the reasons I love watching fights with this guy, is because he knows Portuguese. So every time the cornermen are yelling at their Brazilian guys, I'm like, what are they saying? What are they saying? And he translates right for me. So
most of the time I translate it incorrectly because I think the stuff I say is much more interesting.
Yeah, probably. But, you know, this is news to me, so he just ruined it. But
but yeah, I mean, Renan Barao wins pretty convincingly. All 5 rounds, I think.
I think the big difference in this fight was Renan Barao had a little bit of a reach advantage. And he really,
I think it was only like 1 inch.
But I think he really utilized his distance.
Yeah,
like he knew how to use his distance. I don't think he had too much more pop on his punches than when he landed from Faber, but he was landing and avoiding punches. He looked very good in and out. And
Joe Rogan kept saying that, you know, the leg kicks were probably doing some damage to Uriah Faber's lead leg. He couldn't sit down on his punches as well. So even though he was landing, he wasn't landing with as much pop as Barao was, but it was pretty one-sided beatdown. You know, I'm actually pretty looking forward to Renan Barao and Dominic Cruz. Should be a pretty
Barao said
frantic fight.
I think Barao said last week, because they asked Faber and Barao this, if he won the interim belt, would you take a fight? And Faber said he would take a fight before Cruz because he's not going to wait on Dominic. Mm-hmm. And Barao said he'd want to wait. So I wonder what the UFC is going to do. If he's going to have him give someone else from the fight, or if he's going to wait.
I hope he fights. I hope it's not another Carlos Condit situation where he's going to sit around for a year and not actually fight anybody.
That's one of the worst decisions ever, is Carlos Condit sitting around for a year. Because we got a great fighter in Carlos Condit, not fighting. And
not just that, like when you wait around that long, your all the money you make as a fighter is because people know who you are. And I guarantee that most people have just forgotten about Carlos Condit.
Right.
Forgot he's the champion. Don't even remember his last fight. It's just he's basically fell by the wayside. You know, and a guy like Renan Barao, who's a really young guy, he's only 25 years old. If he doesn't get out there and keep fighting, nobody's going to care when it comes time for him to fight Dominic Cruz. They're going to have to stick that like in a card with another title fight. It's not going to be a very marketable fight. It's not going to be a very top-selling fight. So
now, quick question: who do you think in that bantamweight division is worthy of that shot against Barao now?
Right now? Honestly, probably Mike Easton.
Mike Easton?
Yeah, Mike Easton would probably be the
Hulk.
Yeah, I mean, he has 3 wins in the UFC, 3 pretty convincing wins. I can't think of any other bantamweights that are really on on some good streaks. So yeah, probably Mike Easton. Ivan Menjivar's out of the picture now. Scott Jorgensen's out of the picture. Actually, you know who might have an outside shot too is Eddie Wineland. See, he knocked out Scott Jorgensen. Ooh. He's one fight away from a title shot.
I think because
the division's so thin right now.
I think if Eddie Wineland or if Mike Easton, either of them got a title shot right now against Barao, I don't think that would be out of the picture. I'd like to see Wineland. I do
too, because he's a former WC bantamweight champion.
I really like Wineland's hands.
Maybe they do Easton Wineland for the number one contendership. But when they do stuff like that, it basically takes away a contender.
Yeah.
But they have enough time though, because if depending on what Dominic Cruz's prognosis is for his recovery, they put Barao and Wineland in to fight, or I'm sorry, Wineland and Mike Easton in to fight. The loser still has time to win, 2 more fights before he gets a title shot again. So
right,
it's not definitely going away from a contender. But so if you haven't heard it yet, Renan Barao wins a pretty handy unanimous decision over Uriah Faber
to claim the interim bantamweight title.
Now the interim bantamweight title. All in all, what do you give this card? Undercard and main card.
Okay,
give each a grade.
Grade wise, okay, letter grade. I'm gonna give the undercard a B+. There was some quick knockouts, a bunch of first round knockouts. There was one knockout in like 71 seconds, another in 7 seconds. I thought the Court McGee fight was great against Nick the Promise Ring.
Still the greatest name.
The most dope nickname I've ever heard. I'm going to give it a B+. Really got to do something to earn an A for me, but it was pretty close to maybe even an A-, but it was good. And then the main card, a D.
D, ooh, that was harsh.
Yeah, a D.
Harsh critic. Yeah, I'm not.
Because I had such high expectations. Maybe it's a C on a normal card, but I just had so many high expectations for this fight.
I'm gonna give it a D+, just because. Actually, just because you have more class than me. On the strength of Matt Riddle's submission alone, I'll give it a D+.
That's why.
Because really, every other fight was a D or an F.
That's why I didn't get an F in my book.
That's true. Yeah, and then the undercard. Probably give that like a strong A-, man. I actually thought it was a very good undercard, and all the fights I watched. It was actually a really surprising fight for me. And despite not being a huge fan of his, Brian Caraway fight, fought this Canadian. I can't remember the Canadian guy's name right now, but really gutsy performance on his part. He got beat up in the first round, basically got peppered in the second round, and just really outlasted the guy and got a nice rear naked choke in the end, and finished him. It was really good performance on his part, so I was really impressed.
That was a third round submission?
That was third round submission, yeah.
I love seeing third round and submissions and KOs. That's just
real gutsy kid, man.
Showing heart.
He got beat up for especially the first round. He was getting beat up and took him down, bought his time, let the guy get tired, and it was like one of those like really yoked up 135-pound guys, and man, he put on a good performance. So congratulations, Brian Caraway. So yeah, that was it. If you haven't seen UFC 149 yet, you're probably not missing much.
No,
but hey, listen, if you're a fight fan, there's no such thing as a bad fight. So
you might want to wait till they put that Matt Riddle fight on some sort of highlight UFC something. But I don't think you're going to see any of these other fights.
Yeah. So I think the post-fight press conference is starting soon. So we're gonna get out of here and go watch that. Thanks for listening. If you watched the first, or if you watched like it was a video. If you listened to the first 2 episodes of the KneeBar Reactions podcast, thank you very much. Hopefully you'll keep coming back, and we keep giving you some more previews and our opinions and
our knee-jerk reactions after the fight.
Knee-jerk reactions afterwards. All that jazz. So once again, I'm Alex. You can find me at The Guard Fighter, and this is Russ, and you can find him at Wrestle Me Gently.
Peace.
Peace out, kids.